Hi, I'm Mark Wybrow and this is the Electronic Cafe, the channel for the lovers of electronic music. And this is another very special interview edition.
Hello, and I'm Andy McNabb. So let's get started. So welcome to another brilliant interview edition of the Electronic Cafe. Mark and I have just spent an hour with the brilliant Matt Lau from Low Moon. What a lovely guy. What an incredible band. We are really, really big fans of what they're doing and obviously very excited about what we think is coming down the pipe. They are going to be in the UK later next year, early February, March, supporting Metric. So get your tickets to that if you can. But yeah, just want to say what a great guy, what an amazing band. We really want more and more people on the Electronic Cafe to hear about them. So I know Mark will do his usual brilliant editing job of putting some amazing music of theirs throughout the episode. So sit back and enjoy this rather great interview with, say, Matt Lau from Low Moon. Enjoy.
Yeah, Mark said to Mark, you missed out, and he's making sure he's not missing this one.
No, don't miss this one. No.
No.
I wasn't invited last time, Matt.
Listen to my heartbeat. Is it too fast? Am I too far? Oh, here I go again. Oh, here I go again. Listen to my heart. Listen to my heartbeat. Is it too fast? Am I too far? Oh, here I go again. Oh, here I go again. Oh, here we go again. Listen to my heart. Listen to my heartbeat. Is it too fast? Am I too far?
So, hey everyone, this is a very special interview edition of Electronic Cafe. A little bit of background: I discovered this band while I was in my local record store, and their first album, this one, it kind of just spoke to me. And the guy in the shop said, "You're going to like this." And he wasn't wrong. And since then, Mark and I have been fans of the brilliant Low Moon. So we're delighted to welcome all the way from LA, the rather brilliant Matt Lau from Low Moon. Matt, welcome to the Electronic Cafe, my friend. We're so delighted to have you here.
So happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, mate. And look, before we dive in, I just want to say, A Modern Life. It's one of our go-to recommendations. We have so many people on our channel saying, what are you guys listening to right now? We do a hot stuff section. The last one we did was all about this album. And everyone we talk to just says, yeah, digging it, loving it. And just to really show some real fanboy stuff here, we're partnered up with Blitz magazine now. And they've asked Mark and I to do reviews of albums. So we did our first feature in Blitz magazine last month. It came out, and guess what? First album reviewed.
Oh wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so you
That's
can.
incredible. Is it out now?
So yeah, you can get. I think you can only order it online as a subscription or buy it per issue. I'll send you a link for it. But
That's brilliant.
it's
Thank
a
you.
very cool magazine that has tons of stuff about new bands, old bands. So they're talking about OMD, but then they're talking about loads of other new bands as well. So it's a really nice, great magazine. But yeah, when they said to us, "Look, can you guys do some reviews? We love what you talk about." First album that came to mind. So it's really cool. And look, I know you just finished the US leg of your tour. How did that go for you?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really nice to just be out there, and to be honest, we were pleasantly surprised. I mean, there was a real passionate base that came out to see us.
Yeah.
And welcomed us back. I mean, anytime you go away for as long as we did, just not even, the pandemic and
Yeah.
the whole thing, the next record, it's like you are nervous to go back out on the road because you just don't know who's going to show up. And we were so, we were just welcomed with open arms, and the fans were just so excited for it. And honestly, I think we took a real step live. I think we really discovered a little bit more about this band, which is the beautiful thing about being in a band. Every time you go out on the road, you can kind of discover another level.
Yeah, so we saw you in London a while ago, and that was amazing. It's actually funny because the people standing around me, that we used to say, you know, you just feel like you're witnessing something special. It felt so perfect. It was so good. That's why I hung around like a groupie to say hello to you afterwards.
It was awesome to meet you.
Could you take a chance on
But I will say, you know, I mean, it's really beautiful that you said that. That was our first headline show of the whole tour. You know, we've been out supporting the war on drugs, and it was really funny because we had basically been only playing like 7 or 8 songs a night.
Yeah,
maybe even less, and for a whole month, and then we kept talking about this London gig, and we had rehearsed for the headline show in December. You know, like we hadn't even thought about it, the headline show yet. And I remember that night we tried to get, or that day we like tried to get into Lafayette early, and we were rehearsing, and then we have technical difficulties. So it was like we were so nervous playing that show. And but I will say, like, the second we got on stage, we felt how warm that crowd was, and just like how it just felt really open, that we just settled in, and we're, oh, this is the first gig of the new Low Moon era, and it went off great. And I think it was definitely different than the last headline gig we played, because we learned so much from that till now. But it was a beautiful way to kick it off.
Yeah, it's funny though, because like me and Andy played in bands. We played all the venues around London and stuff. And it's true what you say. The first half a song, if you've got a great vibe and it kicks in with the crowd, you're flying, aren't you? If you get a real bad feeling in the first song, it kind of sets the tone of like, does it sound right? Technical. You start worrying about technical issues and things. So I mean, that's totally true. And equally for you, I mean, you're a relatively new band, and like your first album was in 2018. So the pandemic, where everything shut down for 18 months, 2 years, must hit a younger band harder than it does older, more established band.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did. I mean, I think it was there was a lot of things. There was, you know, a label situation going on at the same exact time as the pandemic hit, and so for us it was a time to kind of reflect and regroup. And to be honest, I not just saying this, I do think we came out of it much stronger and used the time to discover more about the kind of band we wanted to be and continue to be. And I think, you know, I think we could have gone either way. Really, we really could have. I mean, we could have said, let's pack it in, you know. But instead, I think we went to work, and not just on the music, but we talked about the ethos of why we're in a band and how important it is to be in a band, and how lucky and grateful we are to be in a band. And if we can just get through this, I don't know if there's anything else, you know, we can't get through. So it definitely made us stronger as a band. And
should never be taken. I fell into rotation, surrender, mistaken. This is it. This is it now. This is it.
You know, I will say, like, the culmination of doing that headline run that we just came off of, it felt like that, you know, like we discovered a lot about ourselves, and we took it out there with us, and I think we've grown a bit.
Yeah, Matt, how did you guys meet? Because correct me if I'm wrong. Most of the bands from LA and New York originally, is that right, or am I completely wrong?
None of us are actually completely from LA. We all moved out here to make music. I moved out to LA in like 2015, around 2015, maybe 16. But I had a few demos. Loveless was one of them, and I kind of came out here with the idea that I would start the band out here because I was in Brooklyn and didn't feel like there was much of a scene anymore. And everyone was telling me there was a scene in LA, even though I really didn't want to move back out here because I lived here for a minute.
All right.
For like 5 months with a friend of mine, and I couldn't stand it. So I moved back to New York. And I think I'm just an East Coast guy. That's in my blood.
Yeah.
But I got the opportunity, I met a manager who really wanted me to move out here. And I did, and reluctantly, but it was a great decision because I kind of kept working on my songwriting and realized that I needed to play these songs live, and met a lot of musicians that were just around town playing. And honestly, the first person I met was Chrysanta, and I didn't even ask her what instrument she played because I think a lot of what I go on is just the feeling and the passion of music. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure you can play, and we got in a room and we jammed, and it was like, hey, great, whatever. We'll figure out what you want to do when the time comes. And we just, from then on, it just kept developing. We had it was like a 3-piece, and we were playing music. We were playing Loveless and other tunes around town. And I think then we met Sam shortly after, and it was the 3 of us and trying to figure out this whole thing. But yeah, we all moved out here, and then Sterling is from Seattle, and he moved here. He went to school here, music school out here, so he was already around the scene as well. So yeah, we all met out here, but none of us are really from Los Angeles. I mean, Sam's from Chrysanta's from Denver, and I'm from Long Island, New York, and Sterling's from Seattle. Well, Anacortes, Washington, which is
Yeah. But you can see it's a good chemistry. I certainly saw that. And when it comes to the kind of process of creating stuff, because you there's quite a variety in the first 2 albums. I mean, is there a sort of typical process, or does it vary by track? Or is it just when the moment hits?
The writing process can be a million different ways, and I think in the beginning of this band, I was reluctant to let everyone into the process because I'd kind of come out here with songs and I was very passionate about them. And over time, the trust and the pure, just what you're saying, chemistry of the 4 of us in the room is really special. And I think it's become more and more special through playing gigs. And we've embraced the idea that that's the kind of band we want to be. So now I think we're at a point now on this 3rd record, as we start working on that, where we're kind of letting the songs come to us, and however they come, we chase it down and try to capture a feeling. And most of the coolest things that I feel like we've been doing have been in the moment, and try to find this energy of, even if it's, hey, I've got these chords and a very loose melody, let's go in and try to figure out where this could take us, and not being afraid or married to the preconceived notion of what this song should be. In the past, I would have been like, this is the song, this is the arrangement, this is it, these are the lyrics, this is it. And now it's like, yeah, could be like this or it could be like that, but where is the feeling of the 4 of us when all of us go, oh man,
yeah,
feels like something
special,
special, and we're reacting to it in a way. And I think that that's just through playing a lot of gigs,
And when there's something you should tell me, in you I see, I do, I don't, I do, I don't. 'Cause when it's real love, you try to fix it, but the damage is done. 'Cause when it's real love.
Will the sound change, do you reckon, from album 2 to 3, seeing as it's more of an inclusive process rather than just you? Or was album 2 already an inclusive process?
Album 2 is like the start of the inclusive inclusivity for sure. And album 3's already shaping up to be even more so, but I think we are definitely exploring way more than we ever have. And I think we're becoming really, really open to what that means artistically for us and how the record gets made and where we do it. And I've, third record is already kind of figured out thematically for me, is an idea that came to me pretty early on. And I think we're all kind of chasing this thing. So I don't think people are going to be like, oh, wow, what happened to Lone Moon? I think it's just going to be, wow, this is another step, another progression. And I think that's kind of our job, is to continue to push ourselves artistically to find something special. I mean, I really am not interested in bands that just keep making the same. I'm not really interested in that,
Yeah,
I don't. It's great art.
And I think that's to your credit. It's probably what we know the next. Any idea when the next album's going to be out, roughly, or is it?
I really want it to come out. Either late 23, early 24. I want it to be out soonish. Which doesn't sound soon to people, but kind of is in the.
Yeah, well, once you get your vinyl order in as well, you've got to wait so much longer for that. As well.
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
Yeah, I hope you've done that already to get it out for 2024. Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? It really is.
But the thing is, as well, is that you've just come off the back of a tour. You're out with Metric as well, and you've got to write and record this album and get it out. I mean, your free time, I guess, is getting quite limited to actually.
Yeah, there's no free time. I mean, we're actually sitting with manager last night going, oh yeah, we don't really have any free time. So this time you have to be in the studio, and this time you have to, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
just trying to plan it out so that we can take advantage of the time that we do have off and continue to kind of work on the album, because that's going to be the most important thing right now for us.
Yeah, sure. I can't wait to hear it, mate.
Always know for me, it's you. Just give me something real. Always know for me, it's you.
And on that note, I mean, I know you've got an eclectic bunch of people in your band, but I mean, for you particularly, who are your musical influences? Because I'm always intrigued, because I normally get it wrong. So I'm not even going to say who I think inspired you, because it could be way out of kilter. But who are the bands that kind of made you sit up and go, this is what I want to do?
Well, I think people are always interested to learn. I mean, it's a tough question, because I think what has influenced the band and what I think that the band has kind of doubled down on is an influence of bands that were around kind of toward in the 80s.
Yeah.
In England. I think bands like the Blue Nile and Talk Talk.
Yeah.
And Roxy Music and Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
And those things are all in there, and I think that that's definitely a lot of the spirit of this band.
Yeah, you can hear it well.
Yeah, and I think that's beautiful, and obviously that's a real touchstone for me, melodically and definitely vocally, and so that's all in there.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of. I mean, I'm inspired by so much music, like new music, One X's Point Never, and Burial, and
yeah, I love them.
A lot of the electronic stuff I think is really interesting, and then you go and, when I was a kid, I was really into jam music, and I, obviously I'm a huge Grateful Dead fan, which nobody would know by the music we make, or maybe somebody would, I don't know. But for me, I'm like, but the touchstone for that for me is that it's freeing, and it's open.
Yeah,
and I think that that's a thing that we're trying to bring into this band. We're trying to stretch out. And see how comfortable we are with going like, ooh, that's too much, or is it? Bands like Pink Floyd, obviously. I mean, and Radiohead, and I mean, there's so much, that. But I think that's the beauty of, and I know Sam's influences are or, you know, he's an indie rock guy through and through. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's a really eclectic mix, and Santa's really into funk and soul and world music, and Sterling's a pretty diehard rock guy. You know, he's a rock drummer. It's like, so I think you put it all in a pot and mix.
It's a good combination.
You know?
That's what I was going to say. It's a big melting pot, isn't it? I mean, everyone brings something to the party, and what comes out, you've got little DNAs of bits and pieces that everybody loves, but it creates something totally new. I thought Sam's influences might have been like electronic duos or something.
Boom, boom.
It's funny because it isn't not, you know, I mean, I think Sam's a brilliant songwriter too, and he's a brilliant, and he's got a really great knack of sound and sonics and songwriting and arrangements, and I think that's been a huge piece of the puzzle for us moving on, is like how our relationship as songwriters together is growing and becoming, we're able to finish each other's sentences or get blown away by, oh wow, he's doing that really interesting chord progression that I wouldn't think of. What kind of melody, you know, let's get what kind of melody do I think of, or what's he thinking, or where is he at, you know? So so yeah, but I look, it's in the blood, man. I mean, it is in the blood, and that's cool.
Back when we were younger, dreaming through the thunder, radio was blasting, heaven's everlasting. If I can make it last, then all I have to do is close my eyes. Hope the dream never dies.
That's
Yeah,
really,
totally. And I think, as you say, because there's such a mixture of influences that you're never going to get into that position of being that, oh, we found a formula that's going to repeat. You're constantly innovating, which I think is great. Really, really cool.
yeah, it's like he's approaching the guitar from Johnny Marr's point of view. Like, what would Johnny Marr do? And it's like, that's not everyone's after what Johnny Marr would do. You know what I mean? So it's like a specific thing.
Yeah.
And you throw that in the pot next to a world that's Floyd and Spirit of Eden, and you know, I mean, so I'm always interested in these things, and sometimes we talk about it a lot. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't really get that, or you don't get this, or you don't get the Grateful Dead. You know, like if I put the Grateful Dead on, everyone's like, well, not everyone. Sterling loves the Grateful Dead too, but Sam, it just never crossed into his zeitgeist. I'm from the coast of, you know, of America. It's like the Grateful Dead and that kind of movement is massive in America. Never really, I mean, it did cross over to Europe, but when you're our age, like that didn't, Sam's dad and that, he wasn't listening to the Grateful Dead. I mean, it was like, you don't listen to that. So, but it's beautiful. It's like, but now you're listening to in the van, he's like, oh wow, it's like, it is funkier. Now I kind of get why you're always swinging your things, or why you're playing acoustic like that, or instead of, you know, and for me, you know, it's like, of course, you know, the classic songwriters are what I grew up with. Like my dad was listening to Bruce and Paul Simon, and, you know, he definitely got me into Gabriel. And, you know, I mean, my dad showed me Parachutes, the early Coldplay record, and I was like, my dad showed it to me. He's like, this band's gonna be huge. This is really great songwriting. I don't know what happened to that band, but they made two.
I think they're making a bit of noise still.
Yeah, they're fucking massive. But they made 2.5 brilliant records. I mean, there's some great stuff on.
I agree.
But the first 2 records are brilliant, and anyone that tells you anybody that doesn't want to think that if it wasn't Coldplay, you know, you'd be like, oh, that's absolutely brilliant. But now you listen to it, and your worldview of what that band is complete. Like if you just showed somebody that, you'd be like, this songwriting's amazing, this feeling's amazing, and it is, you know. But everyone's afraid to say it because it's Coldplay, which is.
Crosses on the red winter leaves. I know what I know. I need to let go.
Yeah, strange, isn't it? Strange, but yeah, man, loads of love. I mean, the fact your dad's into that stuff as well, all that splintered down. And I mean, when you start talking about your influences from the UK bands, you name pretty much Mark and I's top. Well, did Blue Nile, Talk, they're in our top sort of 20 bands at Roxy. I mean,
But it's funny though, because we've spoken to a lot of people like yourself, and we've spoken to a lot of like electronic artists, and they said their influences were Van Morrison or Tom Waits or people that you wouldn't necessarily associate with them being influential to. So I mean, it's just it's a mixing pot of everyone's family life, their youth, growing up, absorbing music, and what comes out in your own songwriting.
It really is. It really is. And that's the beautiful thing about this, you know?
Yeah. There's no fixed formula, which is great.
And you also played the Troubadour, which is probably one of the most famous clubs in the world.
Yeah, it was great. That was one of our first headline shows in LA.
Wow.
It was great. Well, I don't think we played that great. I have weird memories of the show itself, but
yeah, I mean, to have that on your CV, though, I mean,
Matt, is there any new bands that you're listening to right now that you can share with our audience? Because much as we love celebrating bands like New Order and Talk, we also really, I mean, that's one of the reasons you're on here. Although you're not that new, you're fairly new to our audience, but you're a great band. And any new other bands in currently around right now that have made your ears prick up and go, oh, they're cool? Anyone in particular?
Yeah, I mean, tons of them. Like, I think Big Thief, or the new Big Thief album, is really brilliant. I think her songwriting is amazing. I think Steve Lacy is amazing. Who else was I listening to yesterday? Nullifer Yanya, I think she's fucking great. I like the Black Country New Road stuff, Black Midi. I'm just looking at my playlist last night.
We'll have to share recommendations, I think, after this interview.
And then there's an album that my friend just finished. Our friend finished this album by this band called Pool Kids. I was listening to it yesterday. It's real math rocky, kind of emo. And it's brilliant. I mean, it's just, it's weird. It's interesting. It's, so there's, and I think and obviously, I mean, bands like the War on Drugs, I mean, those guys are like, to me, I mean, it's just, they're not even a new band, but so there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on, but maybe people are talking about bands again. I don't know. It feels like it.
Yeah, it does. And I think obviously as we're all coming out of this horrible lockdown we had, I mean, people are dying to see more new music. I mean, I was fortunate enough to see the Gorillaz at the O2. It was the O2's first live gig after lockdown, and the euphoria and the sort of happiness in that room. I mean, Damon Albarn was emanating happiness. He said he missed it so much, and I've never seen him so emotional. It was amazing. I think that's why people, the festivals are selling out, gigs are selling out. I think you're right. People just want to go out and see live music again because it's the best thing to do, right?
Yep. For sure.
And what's been your? I know you probably had a few, but what if there was any one particular highlight where you've gone, this is why we did this? Is there anything so far in the Low Moon journey that's been a real highlight for you guys?
So much of it. My fiance always reminds me when I get down, or I'm like, oh God. If you told yourself what you were doing, that 5 years ago that you would have done X, Y, and Z, you would have cried, out of pure happiness and disbelief. I will say this last tour with the War on Drugs in Europe, there was something that kind of clicked for us as a band. I think we were, and definitely because it was our first tour post-pandemic, but it really felt like, okay, this is exactly where we're supposed to be. And with those guys, just how inspiring they are as a band and pushing themselves, and how much we respect those guys and Adam and the whole lot. It's like we stepped into that feeling, wow, we're so grateful to be able to do this, and then to do this with these guys and watch them every night show up every day to sound check, trying to figure it out, trying to make themselves better. That's why you do this. And I think that, you know, you can easily lose perspective. You can easily lose perspective. You know, we're really trying to, and I said this to the guys. I remember on the first campaign in 2018, we went to Europe with London Grammar, and that was brilliant. And then we came back and did our own headline shows. But I remember doing it being like, oh, we'll be back. And then the pandemic hits, and I'm like, I don't know. Are we ever going to go back?
Oh, yeah.
Or are we going to put out another record?
Mm.
And then the first opportunity we get is with a band like that playing massive shows. And you're like, this is incredible, you know?
Yeah.
And it really is a beautiful gift. And you can forget it sometimes because most of the time you're banging your head up against the wall going, what are we doing?
And get carried away with my friends, 'cause we're all in this, waiting for the nightmare to end. But every single day, it's easier to turn away.
You know, so
Did you support with churches as well, didn't you?
yeah, we did that in the US. Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah. That was the last tour we did before we went in to make the second record.
Yeah,
Right. Mate, do you find it? I mean, I know you've toured all around. Is there a distinct difference? Do you feel? Just curious. From the US crowd to the UK, are they very similar? You just feel the love no matter where, or is there a difference?
No, there's a difference. In the UK, I think there's definitely an inherent understanding of our band.
Yeah.
I tend to think that is the case. I don't know if that's the case or I'm imagining it or I want that to be the case, but it does feel like that. It just feels like you guys get it.
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, my opening, or Mark and I's opening sentence on this Blitz magazine was "Hailing from the US, but sound like the best the UK has to offer." That was my opening.
Oh, thank you. That's sweet.
It feels like it.
Yeah, it is, and I think that we're very influenced by the UK and the music. So yeah, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
we're getting a lot of posts on we've got an associated Facebook group that runs alongside the channel. So people talk about music, and a lot of people are starting to post stuff on Low Moon, whereas you know, it wasn't just me and Andy anymore. Other people were posting stuff. And it does feel like you've got some momentum, and it does feel like, I mean, me and Andy saw the Killers in the UK numerous times before their debut album came out, and they had this groundswell of like love of, you know, the British audience before they kind of cracked America and became big. So it does feel though your music is very a British sounding music, if that makes sense.
Thank you. I mean, I take that as a compliment. I mean, it's definitely
it's meant to be. I mean, you know, the Killers had the indie influence with the electronics and, you know, Smiths and, you know, all that sort of British sort of DNA in it. And I think the English audience took them to heart, and they kicked on, and then they became massive in the rest of the world. I think they then went home and became big in the States, you know, with Sandstown and their follow-up albums.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we've actually been talking about them quite a bit like that, because that rap, I mean, bands like the Bravery did the same thing.
Yeah,
right back.
Exactly.
They went to the UK, you know, first, and they kind of did it there.
Well, I mean, we saw the Bravery as well, and they were like neck and neck with the Killers to start with. And the Killers went on and they changed their sound, obviously, but then the Bravery have kind of disappeared, haven't they? And I love New York bands. I mean, I love that East Coast, you know, whether it's Blondie, and I feel a bit stupid wearing this T-shirt now because I didn't wear it. I didn't wear it for any reason. But you know, that East Coast kind of like, you know, Blondie and, you know, that classic sort of punky electric sound. I love that. So I mean, I love the Bravery, and I thought they was going to kick on and be big, but they didn't kick on.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just stopped, right? So
Yeah, happens a lot. It's funny you say Kings of Leon, another band that was bigger here before they broke the US. So You know, I think we just seem to get bands maybe with just different type of music, which is a bit an instant connection. But it's really
Has there been an American band? It's cool. I mean, I think since BBC introducing, there's definitely been an influx of just like a real understanding of a lot of UK bands making great music. And I think that you don't get bands like Black Midi, you don't get bands like Wet Leg, you don't get bands like Yard Act. In America, you don't see a lot of bands like that. You don't see, and I do think it's because you guys are receptive to that.
Yeah.
Whereas here, there's like, and this is not a knock on the U.S. music industry, or maybe, but there's a real like obsession with numbers and data, and less of an obsession with art.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's got to be about the fucking art. You know, I mean, like that's paramount when you're an artist. Like you get into make art, and what's cool is there's a lot of arty bands. To me, I mean, there's a lot of them that are coming out of the UK that people are embracing as, you know, here's this group of 5 people that make art, and I tend to like it. And so it doesn't matter how people are, you know. So I don't know if there's been I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong. I can't really think of a band in the last couple of years that's been an American band that's had the moment in the UK first. Yeah. All the bands we just mentioned, like the Killers, the Bravery, that was at a moment. The Strokes did the same. The Kings of Leon, they all did the same thing, you know. So, and we've been talking about this a lot, actually. Just has the UK music industry or UK fan base embraced their own much more than they used to, or is it just because they're making better art? You know, I mean, like a band we were hanging around with a bit and did our first tour with in Europe was the Lemon Twigs. I mean, look, they did it too. You know, they went backdoor too. They went into the UK first. So I don't know. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think there's a much more open environment for bands in the UK.
Your daddy's car got found in the desert, but lost your heart. I'm trying but not too hard, 'cause fighting's just a lost art. Still got my eyes on the prize.
I think you're possibly right, because I don't think that, you know, you look how experimental Roxy Music were to start with, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
In the UK, and I don't think there have been people would have been so accepting of that in the States. I don't know. And you got to think, perhaps, you know, Bowie, or, you know, it goes right back to that
Beatles songs.
Yeah.
But then they took America by storm. So
no, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, I do think actually the War on Drugs are a good example. I mean, they did it. They definitely kicked off. They definitely had much, you know, but you know, it's a commitment. So what I think we've talked about it a lot is just committing to that, you know, wanting to get over there and play for the fans, you know, and because it's receptive and look, I mean, America is so massive, so it's like it takes a long time, you know, and it takes a couple of things to be happening at the same time for it to really.
I think you make a good point about the size of it, because there are some obviously amazing artists from the US like yourself. I mean, there's Nation of Language is one of our favorites.
I love those guys. I think they did a great. I think they're great.
Yeah.
And they're definitely paying more. I will say though, look, they're paying more attention to UK and Europe. They are touring there more. They are playing more festivals there, and it makes sense. I mean, musically, it makes sense too. It's like, they made a brilliant record. I love that record. I think it's
great band. But as I think you say, there's probably parts of the US that will catch on to those bands, but because it's so big, it doesn't really come out. Whereas because we're quite small, it's more visible maybe. Because I think you make a good point. But I mean,
it happens on the coast, right?
Yeah.
Like in LA, maybe you do 500 to 1,000 people. Maybe in New York, you do 1,000 people. Maybe one place in like Austin, Texas, maybe.
Yeah.
The rest of this country is just massive void that takes a long time for the coast to kind of move out into the middle.
Yeah.
And, you know, bands like the Killers definitely had that, and the Kings of Leon. And I mean, but also bands were in a different place then. You know, there was a real acceptance of bands. There was a real like want and need for that.
Yeah.
So look, I mean, I think it goes back to the same thing we were talking about. It's like there is definitely a difference of the UK, you know, of how we are perceived in the UK. I think, and then Europe. So it's really cool that you say that, and I think that the music is just, honestly, I think it's even leaning more that way for us.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just
I
more,
hope that means you get to play more gigs in the UK, so more people can see you.
that'd be great.
Yeah, it'd be awesome. So
Equally, I think that your music, sorry, Andy, music, Matt, I think that if people didn't know and someone said, here's Low Moon, here's a new British band, there's no way that they would think it wasn't a British band. You know what I mean? You've kind of got, you don't sound like a overtly American band. You sound like all the things we love.
Oh, thanks for saying that. That makes me really happy.
it's true. Mate, it's true though. When I first heard you, I thought, oh, these guys are great, because they say the guy on the record store loved you and played the track and went, well, I'm all over that. I literally heard about 5 seconds. I went, bought, got it home, told Mark went, yeah, and we started spreading the love about you guys. But
When was
before
that?
I started reading, that was about a year and a half ago.
That was on the new.
When-
That was on the new record.
No, this one, the first album. Yeah, and then obviously, as soon as I knew this one was out, I got it, and I've got it on some funny smoky vinyl.
Oh yeah, Monkey Vinyl's cool.
Yeah. So, but you know, me and Mark are terrible because he'll find bands that I haven't heard. I find bands, and we're like, dude, you got to hear these guys. You got to hear. So I was all over him like a rat and check this out. But the good thing is, Mark's got the same ears as me.
I can't have Andy taking all the glory. I've got it.
I've got you, Mark. I've got the t-shirt.
Yeah, you got a t-shirt. You didn't ask me for the gig, so all I've got is vinyl.
Amazing. That is
Oh,
amazing.
I'm gonna hear the end of that. But we're gonna be at the one at the Roundhouse. I think it's that February, Mark, next year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
And,
did you get the Metric show, Matt?
They're putting their record out through the same company that we put our second record out, and they kind of heard about us through that system, and then
cool.
I guess they were sent a lot of bands, and they liked us, and they asked us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love Metric, and then Emily Haynes is fantastic.
It's brilliant.
Her solo albums I love as well. So the fact that you guys are with them, we're really looking forward to coming to that show.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Maybe we can buy you a beer afterwards, buddy. We'd love to, because we're bringing a lot of people down, because it's funny. It sounds, Mike Gardner was here. So it sounds, I'm not a posh guy, by the way, but he happened to be, and he's a music fan. And I was playing him a track of your stuff yesterday. He said, oh, my mate will love this. He started texting his friends. It's just amazing how you're one of those instantly liked bands, and that's why me and Mark get frustrated when bands like you should be as big as Coldplay. You'll get there though. You'll definitely get there.
I believe we will get there on our own terms.
I do as well.
Yeah.
We better get that beer in quickly, Andy.
No, you'll get it in.
Yeah.
You'll get it in.
Yeah, he's gonna say, "Who are you?"
You guys. Oh, never.
Look,
So,
I
Matt,
just want to say,
thank you for giving up your morning.
Anytime,
choose-
guys. I really appreciate it. It was really, really awesome speaking to both of you, and I can't wait.
likewise.
I can't wait to hang out in February. That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, keep in
Yeah,
touch. We're at the show. We got tickets for the show, so I mean, it would be really nice to shake your hand and buy you a beer afterwards.
Just send me a message beforehand, and we'll get together for sure. It'd be really awesome.
love to. All right, buddy. Well, listen, wish you luck in everything you do. Totally deserve it. Thanks,
you.
Matt.
Appreciate it, guys.
Cheers, Matt. Thanks for your time.
Take care, buddy.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
So that's it for another episode of the Electronic Cafe. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with the rather brilliant Matt Lau from Low Moon. What a great guy. What an amazing band. Really looking forward to seeing those guys when they tour with Metric next year. And hope to see all you guys on the next edition of the Electronic Cafe. And just want to mention before I go, if you haven't subscribed to the rather brilliant Blitz magazine, please do so. It's a fantastic publication packed with everything you need to know about what's going on for the very cool music right now. Right, that's it. See you soon. Take care. Bye-bye for now.
Many thanks also from me. It was a real pleasure talking to you, and hopefully this episode shines a light on the brilliant music of Low Moon. Thanks again for watching. See you all next time. Take care. Bye-bye.